in the form set out in the flag.
African heads of state, former presidents and other high-ranking dignitaries have arrived in the Zimbabwean capital of Harare to attend President Robert Mugabe's inauguration. Zimbabwe is, of course, preparing to swear in Mugabe in a grand ceremony at the National Sports Stadium later today. The inauguration will officially end the rocky coalition with the Movement for Democratic Parties, who say they will boycott this event, disputing the election results. Many Zimbabweans believe the extravagant display is for the benefit of the international community and a show of support to the Western powers who refuse to recognize Mugabe's disputed election results. Now, Robert Mugabe has been in power, of course, since 1980. That's 33 years now. And he has recently said that he plans to rule up to the age of 100. His main rival, the MDC's Morgan Tsvangirai, has now finally agreed to accept defeat after 2 failed court battles to contest the results of the July 31st elections. He claimed the election process was flawed, thereby not free and fair. And we can see President Mugabe there addressing the crowd.
To the well-being of Zimbabwe and its people. So help me God.
And with that pledge, Robert Mugabe has just become president of Zimbabwe for another term of 5 years. As we can see there, he's just doing the paperwork, making it all official. And as we said earlier, African heads of states, former presidents and other high-ranking dignitaries are attending this inauguration in the capital of Harare that is taking place at the National Sports Stadium. Now, this inauguration has officially ended the rocky coalition with a movement for democratic change. The opposition leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, has apparently finally decided to accept defeat. He recently lost 2 court battles to contest the results of the July 31st elections. He claimed the election process had been flawed and not free and fair, but that is all in the past, as Robert Mugabe is there officially the president of Zimbabwe for another 5 years. He has now ruled since 1980, 33 years, and 5 more to come, which means he will be well into his 90s by the next elections and still going strong. Quite a remarkable man. Now just praying. It looked as if they were praying. Of 100, and right now that doesn't look like too tall an order. There Mugabe is being decorated. Once again officially the president. The people are celebrating. Don't quite know what to do with themselves, obviously overjoyed with their president. Looks as if these celebrations are about to begin. People gathering on the lawn there of the National Sports Stadium. And probably a huge spectacle about to get underway to celebrate this momentous occasion. And it is quite a process. Never quite realized that so much goes into it. But it now seems to be the end of that, and now just waiting for the celebrations to start. The National Sports Stadium is packed. There must be in excess of 80,000 to 100,000 people there today attending these celebrations, this inauguration. I would think he's now being presented to his countrymen who are jubilant. And I would imagine he is going to address them soon. If you just joined us, we are watching live pictures from the inauguration of President Robert Mugabe, coming to us live from the National Sports Stadium in Harare, where hundreds of African heads of state and former presidents and other high-ranking dignitaries are gathered to witness this historic event. Robert Mugabe, of course, one of the leaders, international leaders who have been president for probably the longest, 33 years now, and starting another 5-year term. And while Zimbabwe celebrates, and Zimbabweans rather celebrate, the opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai and his movement for democratic change has made it clear that they will oppose these celebrations. They have lost 2 court battles since the 31st of July elections, where they try to have the results of that election overturned as flawed, but had absolutely no success and have finally accepted defeat. And as we know, Robert Mugabe has in fact declared this day a national public holiday. So something to look forward to next year. And we are breaking away from the inauguration there for just a moment. We are going to have a look at a weather forecast with Magdal Erasmus.
Well, it's been a rather windy start of the day, especially across the Highveld, but that's always a good sign because that means the season is changing. But now if we take a look at our forecast for the rest of this Thursday, a little bit of rainfall still for the southern coastal parts of South Africa, and then also isolated rain showers across the eastern parts of KwaZulu-Natal as well as for the eastern escarpment. But otherwise, clear skies for most of southern Africa with only a bit of rain across the northeastern parts of Madagascar. But now let's take a look at your temperatures for this Thursday. Another warm day over the north. Just look at this, 26 in Polokwane and Phalaborwa peaking at 29. Then mild across the Highveld, around 20 degrees in Johannesburg. Also a mild day for KwaZulu-Natal, but then a little bit colder as you head further throughout the southern parts and the southern regions. Sutherland at 10 tonight, today, and only 15 degrees in Cape Town. And now for the maximums across the southern parts of Namibia. Around 24 in Keetmanshoop, warmer further north, still mild along the coast, and we are expecting mostly cloudy conditions. The northern parts of Namibia can also expect a warm day, especially in Umaruru. Still a bit of fog around Walvis Bay. Botswana remains dry for most of this Thursday. Warm conditions continue, however, a little bit colder for the southern regions. Chabong at 22 degrees. Zimbabwe also a delightful day with maximums well into the 20s, a little bit colder for the eastern parts, but Harare a daytime high of 24. Then we are expecting a bit of cloud across the southern parts of Mozambique as well as the north coast. However, sunny in Lichinga and Kuala with the temperatures around 22 and 28. For the Comores, it's also a nice day. No rain in the forecast. Moroni at 30 degrees and Joam peaking at 29. For the Seychelles, it's also partly cloudy conditions. Still no rain in the forecast. Mahi a daytime high of 29. Then further south, Madagascar, a bit of rain around the northeastern parts. Tomashini at 24 degrees. Fianarantso mild at 19. And then over to Reunion and Mauritius. Sindani can expect a daytime high of 25 and 23 in Port Louis. Then a sunny and warm day for the southern parts of Mozambique. In Ambama around 24. Shaisha and Maputo also around the mid-20s. But a quick look at your forecast for this Friday. We are still expecting rainfall across the central parts of Mozambique as well as the eastern escarpment. Then there is a chance of rain throughout the eastern Free State by Friday night. Otherwise, still a cold day for the southern parts, and it remains warm across Botswana. But that's your weather forecast for now.
Well, here we are.
Yeah.
You hopefully going to get a chance to do sports today.
I'm hoping for a sneak preview at least of what's happening on the weekend. Yeah.
Well, the inauguration of President Robert Mugabe, I guess, is slightly more important than sport. And we're definitely going to be rejoining those festivities happening at the National Sports Stadium in Harare after the top of the hour. But thank you very much for being with us, and don't go away. We'll have more breaking news and hopefully some sports in the next half an hour.
All the latest news from the SABC's online news services on our website. Breaking news and in-depth coverage of everything from business, sports to politics and lifestyle. Catch the top news clips and watch live streaming of major news events on the SABC News YouTube channel whenever. Stay connected on the SABC News Facebook page and have your say on news that matters to you. And for the latest headlines and live updates from our reporters, follow us on Twitter. SABC Digital News, anytime, anywhere.
My name is Mpho Tsedu. Monday to Friday, 5:30 in the evening, that's question time. Channel 404 on DSTV.
You can catch me on Channel 404 on DSTV every Saturday afternoon at 2:05 on Health Talk, where we discuss an issue that affects all of us, that is health. I'm Pakamile Makampela.
Why watch the news on SABC? We bring you news in your own language. News that affect you. Sports. We have
Catherine Drew, SABC News at the High Court in London.
Shervin Bryce-News, SABC News.
Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Nairobi.
We touch and change people's lives. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
You can catch me on Channel 404 on DSTV every Saturday afternoon at 2:05 on Health Talk, where we discuss an issue that affects all of us, that is health. I'm Pakamile Makampela.
You're watching SABC News coming to you live from Johannesburg. I'm Laurette Morgan, and of course today we've had a slightly different program. As you've seen, we've had no sports so far as we're crossing regularly to that inauguration of President Robert Mugabe in Harare. So we are going to be crossing there shortly again, but first let's take a look at the main stories today. Zweli Mkhize resigns as KwaZulu-Natal Premier to work full-time as ANC Secretary-General. Consumers face a barrage of cost pressures in the coming months. And tickets for this weekend's eagerly anticipated MTN 8 semi-final first leg fixture between Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates are selling fast. KwaZulu-Natal Premier Zweli Mkhize has announced that he's stepping down as Premier of the province. The ANC's chairman in the province, Senzo Mchunu, was sworn in as acting Premier by KwaZulu-Natal Judge President Chaiman Patel in Durban. Mkhize says his tasks as Treasurer General of the African National Congress prompted the decision. He praised Mchunu as his colleagues in the KwaZulu-Natal executive and also thanked President Zuma for his support. Mkhize will be based at the ANC's headquarters in Luthuli House in Johannesburg full-time as from the 1st of September. Two Northwest MECs have collapsed one after another during an executive meeting in Mahikeng in the Northwest province. Both have been rushed to the local hospital. The MEC for Economic Development, Conservation, Environment and Tourism, Motlapula Rosho, and the MEC for Sports, Arts and Culture, Tebogo Modise, were attended by doctors after their collapse. The incident started when Rosho complained of back pain and collapsed as she was being led from the meeting to see her private doctor. Modise, who was escorting her, collapsed minutes later. Both MECs were rushed to the Mahikeng Provincial Hospital to receive medical attention. Northwest Province Premier Thandi Modise has since called for calm. Last year, Northern Cape Premier Hazel Jenkins also collapsed while delivering the State of the Province address in Kimberley. She was transported to the hospital where her condition was described as stable. She has since retired from the provincial government. The Federal Appeals Court in New York has ruled that major companies like Daimler, Ford and IBM cannot be held liable for abuses suffered under South Africa's apartheid government. The United States Circuit Court of Appeals says claims that subsidiaries of the companies sold cars and computers to the South African government had to be rejected. Victims of apartheid had filed lawsuits seeking to hold the companies responsible for race-based injustices, including rape, torture and murder of millions of people. The latest twist in the case is among many since lawsuits were filed 11 years ago. The case was consolidated in New York, U.S. District by Judge John Spritzo, who has since died. In 2004, he threw out the lawsuit, saying he did not have jurisdiction. He said the Congress had supported and encouraged business investment in South Africa as a way to achieve greater respect for human rights and a reduction in poverty. Lengthy negotiations are underway to establish how much each country involved will pay for the first phase of the Square Kilometre Array Radio Telescope, SCAR. The phase of the giant project is expected to cost about 9 billion rand. The project is managed by the International SCAR Organization, which currently comprises of 10 countries.
South African project manager Bernie Farnarov told Parliament Science Portfolio Committee that the cost of the project will be covered by all members of the SKA organization. The organization is still on a mission to recruit other countries to join. SKA currently comprises of Australia, Canada, China, Germany, New Zealand, South Africa, United Kingdom, Italy and Netherlands. The telescope will have central collecting regions in both Australia and South Africa, but it will have some outstations in 8 African partner countries, which includes Botswana, Ghana, Madagascar, Zambia, Namibia and Kenya. The United States is expected to join the organization by 2020. So far, the European Union has not contributed anything in the project. The project's second and final phase is expected to be cheaper than the first one. Once fully operational, the project will be the largest science project in the world. It will be at least 50 times more powerful and 10,000 times faster than any other radio telescope. Radio astronomers will use the SKA to understand how stars and galaxies formed and how they evolved over time.
The Arms Deal Commission hearings continue today. According to the evidence of the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Rusty Higgs, South Africa's relations with its neighbours were still uncertain then. It was decided to restrict the type of equipment to be acquired.
It makes me very proud to have participated in this, because this is what the people of South Africa decided through our parliament what defence should be.
Higgs, with 38 years service, focused on the Defence White Paper. The document was developed and adopted during the Mandela era. At the time, Thabo Mbeki was the Deputy President and the late Joe Modise, the Defence Minister.
What was the thinking of South Africa during that time in relation to military force and civil military relations?
The focus of the discussion in the department was guns or butter, decision support for determining the size and shape of the South African National Defence Force.
He told the Commission that in a post-democratic South Africa, there was a need to rejuvenate the force. That could only be done through the acquisition of new submarines, frigates and corvettes. And that was the central question. The country was in a state of democratic euphoria and was not at war with its neighbors, apart from a brief skirmish in Lesotho. Njanji Chauke, SABC News, Pretoria.
ANC Secretary-General Gwede Mantashe says a divided COSATU is weakening the federation and impacting on its ability to influence ANC policies. Mantashe was addressing Pop Crew's political school. He says 2014 is an election year and the ANC needs a united COSATU, the main bloc of its alliance. Mantashe says ignoring COSATU's founding principles have split the federation.
I was criticizing about Stum, if we have a divided, we would have had at least 10 sitting ANC leaders in the NSC of the ANC. We have only 4 now, and that reflects the state of the federation.
Former SABC board member Lumko Mtimde took a stab at returning to the board yesterday. Mtimde was part of the board which resigned en masse earlier this year. He appeared before the Communications Portfolio Committee in Parliament. The committee is currently interviewing 36 candidates. The final 12 will comprise the broadcaster's new board.
The best way for SABC to survive into this space that is now having so many television services, so many radio services, is if it invests in its best content. And local is, to me, the best content.
The soldier convicted of leaking crucial surveillance documents to WikiLeaks, Bradley Manning, plans to ask the White House for a presidential pardon. He was sentenced yesterday to 35 years in prison for violating the Espionage Act.
When I chose to disclose classified information, I did so out of a love for my country.
Sentenced to 35 years in prison for the biggest breach of secret data in U.S. history, Soldier Bradley Manning spoke through his defense attorney in a statement to reporters, indicating he intends to ask President Barack Obama for a pardon.
If you deny my request for a pardon, I will serve my time knowing that sometimes you have to pay a heavy price to live in a free society.
The former low-level intelligence analyst turned over more than 700,000 classified files to the pro-transparency organization WikiLeaks in 2010. The 25-year-old showed no emotion as the judge in Fort Meade, Maryland, read his sentence on Wednesday. White House spokesman Josh Earnest says a pardon request from Manning would be treated the same as all others.
If there is an application that's filed by Mr. Manning or his attorneys, that application will be considered in that process like any other application.
Manning could be eligible for parole in about a decade, a fact WikiLeaks called a, quote, significant strategic victory on its official Twitter feed.
And that's your news for the moment. We're going to go for a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
With so many bad incidents happening around us, we continue sourcing, unpacking and televising nation-building and compassionate stories. From the nation's pride, those who go all out, top achievers, hard workers, those dedicated to making this country a better place, and unusual friendships. Catch all these and more on SABC News.
As the biggest, the most extensive, diverse news organization and the best content provider of choice in Africa, we aim to offer the nation
Vice President Comrade Joyce Mujuru, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government here present, Your Excellencies, former Heads of State and Government here present, the outgoing members of Cabinet, esteemed delegates representing various countries and organizations here present, representatives of sister liberation movements and parties here present, our newly elected members of Parliament, the Chief Justice and members of the judiciary, our senior civil servants, representatives of war veterans, detainees, restrictees, and war collaborators, representatives of the business community, our service chiefs, representatives of our farming community, members of the diplomatic corps, representatives of civil society, student activists, invited guests, comrades and friends. On behalf of the people of Zimbabwe, I wish to extend to you all a very warm welcome to this joyous occasion, marking the end of our electoral processes and the beginning of steps towards shaping a new administration which shall mind the affairs of our nation for the next 5 years. In welcoming you, I am aware of the inconveniences you suffered from what really was a short notice to this event. Our invitations reached you very late, forcing you to set aside equally pressing commitments, which you may have scheduled for the same time. We apologize most profusely for this inconvenience created by certain constitutional requirements that, on our part, perforce precede the inauguration of the President-elect. We had to allow for petitions as required by our supreme law. Yet it is this positive response to this short notice on your part which attests to the deep affinities between you and ourselves. We are truly humbled, and today our hearts are aglow with happiness, which we readily share with you on this joyous occasion. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, the just ended harmonized polls, whose high point we now gather to celebrate, do mark and usher in a new constitutional dispensation for our country. This poll is the the first we have held under a new homegrown constitution, which has replaced that which we negotiated at Lancaster House with our erstwhile colonial masters, the British, in 1979. While the Lancaster House Constitution has served us well as we moved from war to peace, from a settler colonial administration to black African self-rule, the passage of time and the sheer weight of emerging issues progressively made the document rather too old. We thus had to work on a new constitution. Consequently, we sat together as a united people and produced a draft document that was subsequently endorsed by the majority of our people through a well-subscribed referendum, which we held early this year. True, today's event marks the inauguration of the President, but it is also a celebration of our new charter, which shall guide our society for the foreseeable future. A key feature of this new constitution is its blending of first past the post-electoral approach and proportional representation. Elections for presidency, elections for the lower house of Parliament, or the House of Assembly as we call it, and elections for local government are all managed under the first past the post principle, while membership to the upper house or the Senate is drawn up on the basis of proportional representation, based on votes garnered by each vying party, while recognizing the constitutional need for gender parity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, I have no doubt that the days of our elections were quite engrossing, if not nail-biting to some of you. The undue politicization and publicity of our polling processes, the ominous auguries that stalked those harmonized polls, could have made you fear for us, indeed may have triggered deep anxieties regarding our prospects here. Routinely, we were imaged as a society at war, a society riven by conflict. After all, the preceding elections of 2008 had been disputed on allegations of violence, itself a fertile backdrop to these rumors of war. Since that disputed poll, Zimbabwe had hung on an easy peace. Indeed, had tenuously held together on a fraught coalition, an inclusive government of three uneasy partners. Genuine friends feared that the 5 uneasy years during which the coalition had survived barely would soon see Zimbabwe get back to this violent patch which had slurred its electoral honor in 2008. enemies and detractors sought to goad us towards such a self-destructive path, but we resisted it. Happily, this negative augury, this hellfire vision of Zimbabwe and its electoral prospects now stands confounded by the durable peace that reigns over this land. We have had peaceful elections. We have had free elections. We have had fair elections, with our constitution allowing for any changes from whomsoever. Well done, Zimbabwe. We pledge to ensure that the peace we have built here endures. Tinotenda siyabonga. And for the attainment of that peace, we pay unstinting tribute to all our people who accepted the exhortations to peace from us all, who practiced and radiated it reciprocally in their immediate neighborhoods. The result was local peace, which built towards and fed into perfect national peace. I want to pay tribute to my partners in the global political agreement for joining hands in these peace-building efforts. Equally, I salute church and community leaders who prayed for it, demonstrated it through personal example. I have no doubt that I continue to count on them all, for durable peace that subsists for all times. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, except for a few Western dishonest countries, our elections have been hailed as peaceful, free, fair, and credible. SADC, COMESA, the African Union, the ACP, the United Nations, as well as many nations of goodwill, have praised our elections here. We welcome this positive spirit, this encouragement which should see us do even better, move forward faster as a nation. But like in all elections, there will always be bad losers, real spoilers. It is a part price we pay for electoral democracy, isn't it? Indeed, an inevitable phase in our growth as a people, wedded to democratic practices. Where such a grousing stance remains non-antagonistic, where it expresses itself within the four corners of the law, it must be tolerated as part of the democratic tussle, part of post-electoral adjustment. As for those old Western countries who happen to hold a different, negative view of our electoral process and outcome, well, there is not much we can do about them. We dismiss them as the vile ones whose moral turpitude we must mourn. They are entitled to their views for as long as they recognize that the majority of our people endorsed the electoral outcome. Indeed, for as long as they recognized that no Zimbabwean law was offended against. And for us, that is all that matters. After all, Zimbabwean elections are meant for Zimbabwe's voting citizens. After all, Zimbabwean democracy is meant for the people of Zimbabwe who must, within certain periods, go to the polls to choose and install a government of their choice. It is their sole prerogative, and no outsiders, however superior or powerful they may imagine themselves to be, can override that right, let alone take it away from them. It is our inherent right. We fought for it when it was lost. We won it through our own blood. We keep it for us and posterity. We reserve it forever as an expression of our sovereignty as a free people. Today we tell those dissenting nations that the days of colonialism and neo-colonialism are gone, and gone forever. The era of white colonial whispers behind the African throne passed on and got buried together with Lord Lugard, the author of this anti-African neo-colonial notion. Having struggled for our independence, our fate has irrevocably orbited out of colonial relations. Indeed, can no longer subsist in courtesying and bowing to any foreign government, however powerful it feigns itself to be, and whatever filthy lucre it flaunts. We cannot be bought. We belong to Africa. We follow African values here. We follow our conscience. We abide by the judgment of Africa, as indeed we did in 2008, when Africa advised us to set aside results of the disputed election. We did so because Africa had been with us. Africa, as our brothers and sisters, had fought alongside us and helped us to achieve our independence, our freedom and sovereignty, and we shall thank them forever. Today it is Britain and her dominions of Australia and Canada who dare tell us that our elections were not fair and credible. Today it is America and her illegal sanctions, with all that past of enslaving us. It is America which dares raise a censorious voice over our affairs and says our elections were not fair, were not credible. Yes, today it is these Anglo-Saxons who dare contradict Africa's verdict over an election in Zimbabwe, an African country. But who are they, we ask? Whoever gave them the gift of seeing better than all of us? Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, with the elections now behind us, we can now focus on rebuilding our nation, which has been ravaged by illegal sanctions imposed on us by the West. If yesterday the pretext for imposing those sanctions was to do with a deficit of democracy here, today we ask those culprit nations what their excuse is. What is it now? Whose interests are those sanctions meant to serve? Zimbabwe is an open, friendly country. We seek friendship across geographies, across cultures, and quite often against past wrongs. We seek partnerships with all nations of goodwill, partnerships based on sovereign equality and mutual respect. Those are the sacred principles upon which the whole global architecture, as defined by the United Nations, is founded. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, elections here were fought over the question of sovereignty gained in 1980 after a grueling armed liberation struggle. Today, the flag of that sovereignty flutters gaily in the winds of our spring. We sing our national anthem, itself a compendium of all that we aspire to and aspire for, with full-throated ease. We have a government through which we define policies, itself the prime agent for implementing those same policies. That government reigns over our territory, its authority firmly felt to the remotest corner of our territory. We have sought the political kingdom. We have now found it. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, much remains to be done before we assume full sovereignty, well beyond the owning of politics, indeed beyond symbols and rituals of independence. Our resources have not yet fully come our way. Yes, we regained control of our land and our people are happy. Today they revel in the ownership of that land which has now come to them. They are beginning to use it profitably, using it for a durable wherewithal, the earnings that come from it. They have become key players in agriculture, proving that they are as good farmers as any in the world once they have access to key inputs. It has been a key milestone. But our dominion goes beyond the land. It extends to all those resources found in and on our territory, including those lying beneath our land, principally minerals. And nature has been generous, prodigal in fact, granting us and granting many other African countries oversized portions of almost all minerals that matter on earth. You get them here on African soil, beneath African soil. And we have them also here, beneath Zimbabwean soil. It has been a generous serve from the Almighty. The time has now come for us to extend our dominion to all those resources which the Almighty has been so generous enough to give us. That is the next revolution, whose first step is this administration, this new government. I stand before you as now a sworn president of Zimbabwe. My mandate comes from the just ended election, in which I should say, through my party, ZANU-PF, you gave me and my party that mandate, as the party won the elections resoundingly. But there are key truths that come with that victory, which come with that honor. The peasant who cast his vote on July 31 created my victory and thus made a portion of my presidency. I am at his service. I am his emissary and servant. He or she did not cast that precious vote in vain, did not repose it in me, in us, without expectations of a good, deserved return. Similarly, the unemployed youth who cast his vote did so amidst great expectations. He too molded my presidency. He too claims it. It must work for him. It must deliver a reward to him. The woman, that larger half of mankind, voted for me, a man. She has deep hopes that must be fulfilled, the hopes of our women. The business person, he or she too voted for me, contributing a limb to my presidency. He or she too has definite expectations founded on his or her role in society as a creator of wealth. So, all these and others who contributed to our victory have also expectations. What shall we, now in government, contribute towards their own make-up? The farmer, small, medium, big, voted for my party, thereby assigning my presidency. His vote was his input. He must now turn the soil, broadcast seed in the hope of plenty. I am the instrument of his dream. The self-employed, that small man and woman, always struggling on the margins of the formal economy. In the SME world, he or she too has expectations, great expectations, and that has to be fulfilled, rewarded. Great expectations from all of them. They have hopes. They have lives to build. They have children to look after. Generations, therefore, to take care of. As we move into the future, let us think of all those demands on us. Let us therefore think of our obligations and ways and means to fulfill those expectations, to satisfy them. Almighty God may favor us but we have been under sanctions for a decade. Most likely we shall remain under these sanctions for much longer. But we have held our own. Our will has been our principal resource. We have to raise ourselves by our bootstraps. Let me share with you my vision for the future. Lay out for you the work that must be done. But let me, once again, before I do that, thank you for the peace. Let me also thank all those who operated in various areas in the supervision of our elections. Those who manned the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Those who were our our vigilant groups, the observers from outside, our own agents at the polling stations, and of course our own security forces as well, the police, the army, the security. It was a combined thrust, therefore. All these factors, shall I say, activities, if you want, combined in creating the environment in which we were able to achieve peace and vote peacefully. We thank them. But now here, after that electoral act is done, after we have celebrated the inauguration, time will have come for us to believe in ourselves by turning to our own resources. Luckily, they exist in fair abundance. The mining sector will be the centerpiece of our economic recovery and growth. It should generate growth spurts across sectors, reignite that economic miracle which must now happen. The sector has shown enormous potential, but we are far from seeing its optimum. We have barely scratched our worth, even in the sense of merely bringing above ground what we already know to be embedded in our rich soil. We need to intensify the exploitation of existing deposits. More mineral deposits remain unknown, unexplored. We need to explore new deposits, developing new greenfield projects in the mining sector. Above all, we need to move purposefully towards beneficiation, that is, adding value to our raw minerals. The scope is great, and I call upon you all to summon your full will to give your utmost. The skills that you now have, and we have created lots of skills amongst you, those skills must now be put to work. We must, however, continue to empower ourselves, develop ourselves, but develop ourselves so we are able to create more and more employment for our youths, for our people. As we go about reorganizing this critical sector of policy reflexes, our policy reflexes must be oriented towards the goals of indigenization and economic empowerment, the economic empowerment of our people. This was the centerpiece of our manifesto. This is what the people voted for. It must become the centerpiece of our development endeavors. We dare not let our people down. We are aware that people of ill will have cast aspersions on our hallowed policy of indigenization and economic empowerment. Well, it is a set policy, our chosen path to full sovereignty. The premise of that policy is an easy one. Our minerals are a depletable resource. We cannot grow them again once they have been exploited. Consequently, we cannot be bystanders in their exploitation. We need a controlling share in all ventures that exploit our non-renewable natural resources. Where we can, we will go it alone. Where we cannot do so, we will seek partners on a 51-49% shareholding principle. Genuine partners should find this acceptable. We reject totally as skewed the economic principle which puts capital, technology, or expertise before natural resources I have described, of the nature I have described. It is a principle of imperialism, the source of unequal agreements, which have been the bane of our exploited Africa. That is our reckoning here, and we stand by it. Unequal agreements are unacceptable. They wreak colonial and neo-colonial relations. But where an investor brings in his or her capital, technology, expertise, as well as raw materials, we will not insist on that principle. The 5 years of inclusive government have seen a slowdown in agriculture. Our farmers, big and small, have gone without the support of government. They have not been assisted in accessing inputs and capital from banks, except for tobacco, which has been funded by the private sector. Food agriculture, which tended to lean on government support, declined. Yet agriculture remains the mainstay of our economy, the source of raw materials for our manufacturing sector as well. We must become a food-secure nation, and that means sensible agricultural policies that recognize support to the farmer by way of inputs. No nation on earth does without such support. The new cabinet will be expected to move with full speed in mobilizing adequate inputs. Equally, issues around electricity and irrigation must be tackled definitely, so that this season marks a return to food sufficiency and anticipates an active winter season, which should see us growing part of our wheat requirements again. After all, agriculture provides livelihoods and direct employment to thousands of our people. There are pressing social service challenges which must be tackled immediately. Taps are dry in most of our cities and towns. West Shore in Bulawayo, water must be restored. Taps must run again. The search for durable solutions to water supply for our towns and cities must begin almost immediately with the announcement of a new cabinet. We cannot have erratic water supply in urban conurbations without risking outbreaks of serious diseases. And of course, our hospitals, clinics and dispensaries must be well equipped for health delivery. Often our clinics have run out of essential drugs, vital pieces of equipment, and accessories. Rural areas have been hit hardest. That area must be stabilized as a matter of urgency. Another key area of urgent attention has to do with infrastructure. Happily, we had already begun working on our road networks with many rehabilitation projects in the offing. These must be expedited so mobility of people, goods and services is expedited. The same also passes for other modes of transport. The road maintenance equipment, which the responsible ministry has been acquiring for rural development agencies, should see us maintaining feeder roads in anticipation of the agricultural sector and other economic activities. It is gratifying to note that the community share ownership programs have also played their part in hastening community development. A key facet of infrastructural development also played their part, I'll read that again, a key facet of infrastructural development shall relate to water provisioning and sanitation, especially in rural areas. Equally, the supply of electricity must be stabilized, both for the sake of our domestic users and for the sake of agriculture, industry, and commerce. We have key power projects which are about to take off and which, if completed, should augment internal power generation. All these are key enablers which must now kick off. There are many financing models which the new government will explore, including public-private partnerships on the strength of which some projects have moved. When all is said and done, our financial system or policy will need to be examined, including the banking institutions and their supporting role to industry. Partly as a result of sanctions and partly because of regional manufacturing and trade dynamics, Zimbabwe has declined as a regional manufacturing center. We are fast turning into one huge warehouse, a dumping ground for all manner of imports from other countries. Our cities and towns are dying. Bulawayo, for a long time the industrial capital of Zimbabwe, has now become a sorry industrial scrapyard. And this has been an indicative trend for all manufacturing centers in the country. We have become a net importer of finished goods, while also being a net exporter of raw materials. Even our cotton industry, for a very long time an area of comparative advantage, it has collapsed. With it, many small growers have also collapsed. This has become a structural handicap which we must tackle head-on and urgently too. Plans to resuscitate our ailing industries never took off, largely because of internal contradictions during the era of the inclusive government. That era is gone, and those contradictions will not be with us anymore. And we therefore must now move purposefully, internationally and diplomatically. We remain friendly and well disposed towards all other nations. We seek friendships, not war or hostility. We seek partnerships. We seek to diversify our relations to encompass new emerging regions of the world. Principally, we continue to look east, hoping all those countries which are held back on fears of our unsettled situation here can now move forward to partner with us on clear parameters laid out in our policies. We seek peace, we work for peace, and exhort the rest of the world to do likewise. We do not brook any form of interference in the internal affairs of other nations. A strong sense of right must always temper might. As our own case demonstrated, often it is local solutions which work best in curing problems that may arise within and between nations. The current Western policy of sponsoring conflict in the Middle East must be condemned, as the desperate situation in Syria, Egypt and other countries has shown. Such a policy brings enormous grief to affected nations. We watch helplessly as small nations get wrecked by high-handed powers. We hold deep fears for Egypt, that great African country. We hope that peace can return to it soon and hold for all time. In concluding, I want to thank countries of Africa, both singly and organized as sub-regions. In particular, I thank SADC and the African Union for standing with us during our difficulties. I thank the sister Republic of South Africa, thank its leadership which in succession played the difficult role of facilitating political dialogue and settlement in our country. It was a trying task, but the two men burdened with that role, firstly, former President Thabo Mbeki, who is here with us, and later President Jacob Zuma, bore it all with amazing patience and perseverance. I'm sure today is a happy day for both of them. I'm sure today is a happy day for all members of SADC, of COMESA, of the African Union. Africa, when they look at us today, can walk tall in the full knowledge that they, the people of Africa, have signed off a rare but glorious chapter on African solutions to African problems. And here, Africa has lived up to its undertaking. to provide African solutions to African problems, which means foreigners, please keep out of our problems. We will solve those problems ourselves. So, today, as we celebrate this inauguration, we are celebrating also the role that Africa has played in shaping our destiny, beginning with our struggle. Those old days, now it appears it's long, long time ago, the 60s, when we're still finding our way. In Tanzania, in Zambia, then Northern Rhodesia, in Ghana and other countries, then in Mozambique, then in Angola, then in Algeria, in Egypt, finding the means with which we could prosecute our struggle. Finding also the source of the experience we needed in order to prosecute that struggle. Learning how to fight a war of liberation. They helped us, those countries, and we shall thank them forever. They are all represented here. And to them who are here, we say, let us, with you, never remember our founding fathers who are not with us today. Siyalibonga lonke. That's Ndebele for we thank you all. We thank you all. Tinokutendai mose, asante sana to you all. Lastly, I owe nothing but praise and respect to my GPA era partners, who are also my fellow countrymen. I'm referring to former Prime Minister Morgan Richard Tsvangirai, former Deputy Prime Minister Professor Arthur Tambara, and much later Professor Welshman Ncube. We have worked together initially compelled by GPA protocols. We eventually found each other and proceeded to produce the current constitution. After walking a difficult march through the compilation of the views that went into the draft that we offered to the people, so the people could say it was a draft representing their views, so they could vote for it in a referendum. And so after the referendum, we could present it to Parliament. Yes, we thank all members of Parliament. We thank the committee that worked so hard, the spade workers that worked so hard on our constitution. We had 2 lawyers, one from MDC, one from ZANU-PF, leading. We thank them all. Today, therefore, is a day for them to rejoice that the acme, final point of their labor, of their sweat and blood, has been reached. This, we have worked together, initially compelled by GPA protocols. We found each other and proceeded to produce, as I said, the current constitution. But it was a constitution to help us mold the way of life we had chosen for ourselves on this, our land, our country together. And for as long as our nation subsists, so will elections and the opportunities they offer also subsist. Our common destiny bids us to work together, never at cross purposes. We will be having competitions, having winners and losers. But we are not competing. We shall never be competing to be Zimbabweans. No. That was a fight we fought, and that was the gift that our country gave us, that we shall all, we the citizens of this country, be Zimbabweans. We gave the name, yes, but it was a name to a country that had been given us by the Almighty. I thank you all, therefore. I thank you all Zimbabweans of the various tribal cultures, of all various religious cultures and political affiliations. Thank you, traditional chiefs. Some of you are here. Tinokutendai, siyalibonga sibili. Thank you all civil servants for all the sweat. I promised you better conditions. We shall try to fulfill as much as possible our pledges which we made. We don't make promises in vain. All students who debated, who disputed, who held conversations about our policies, you are all Zimbabweans. And those who come from outside are all our friends. All social groups, we may dislike you for your policies. Not that I am declaring we shall like you if your policies are not likable. But you are Zimbabweans. There is nothing I can do about that one. We shall always recognize you and your right as Zimbabweans. So we are celebrating you today as well. All youths, all mothers and fathers, and I do hope you will continue, you, our ladies, the younger ones, you, our young male ones, we hope you will continue to look forward to being mothers and fathers tomorrow. We hope you damn as much as we damn the doctrine, belief that man and man can marry, woman and woman can marry. That destroys nations. apart from its being a filthy, filthy disease. It's punished according to the Bible. Sodom and Gomorrah, those two names, two words, we derive them from the Bible as the Lord Almighty punished the two cities that were guilty of offending against nature. Let's not offend against nature. Let's forever look forward to being either fathers, if that is our sex, or mothers, if that is our sex. So I say once again, thank you to you, tinotenda, ngiyalibonga, asante sana, tatenda. Enjoy yourself.
X-ray on it, say on, we try it on.
May you allow me, Your Excellency, to humbly request you to bear with us as I now invite the Second Secretary and Vice President of the party of ZANU-PF, Amai Joyce to deliver a congratulatory message and indeed a vote of thanks. Amai
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Robert Gabriel Mugabe, the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Amai Mugabe, and family, Your Excellencies, invited heads of state and government, Honorable Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Swaziland, Honorable Barnabas Dlamini, Honorable Vice Presidents, Your Excellencies, former heads of state here present, Chief Justice, Honorable members of the party ZANU-PF and war veterans, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proudly honored and humbled to deliver this vote of thanks on the occasion of the inauguration of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Robert Gabriel Mugabe, as Head of State and Government and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces. In Zimbabwe, we consider ourselves a privileged people in that we continue to benefit from the wise counsel of His Excellency the President from time to time. In 1980, at the inception of a new democratic Zimbabwe, Your Excellency, you pronounced the policy of reconciliation. On the 4th of March 1980, you implored the from an undemocratic and dehumanizing Rhodesian political dispensation to the current peaceful and democratic one that we are proud of today. Your Excellency, consistent with your wise and courageous leadership, you spearheaded the land reform program so as to empower the previously disadvantaged majority of our people. Apart from benefiting from the actual land, this act further developed the minds of Zimbabweans to higher levels of appreciating, knowing, and understanding their rights to be masters of their destination. Today, what is theirs, they duly claim without fear or hesitation. On behalf of the people of Zimbabwe, of my family, and my own behalf, I wish to congratulate you, Your Excellency, for a successful campaign and a resounding win for ZANU-PF. I wish to take this opportunity to thank you, Baba, to thank you, Bushungu, for accepting the demanding role of leading this great nation to greater heights of socio-economic transformation and overall prosperity for all. Your Excellency, the voice and statements of the people, as echoed through the election results, the strength of our new constitution and the party manifesto, the rich Zimbabwe culture, norms, and values that make us truly, proudly, and uniquely Zimbabwean, Africans, and nothing else, all combined, provided the necessary ammunition for you to move the country forward. This will be done whilst holding firm to the true to the oath you have made to the God Almighty today. May I also take this opportunity to thank all their excellencies and their esteemed delegations who have witnessed this most historic occasion. With these words, Your Excellency and Your Excellencies, I wish you, and especially to His Excellency, Comrade Robert Gabriel Mugabe, excellent health, the best in your new term of office as you steer the economy towards a new level of development guided by the new words, indigenize, empower, develop, and employ. Zvaoneka kushungu, siyabonga ngwenya. Long live Your Excellency. Long live Zimbabwe. God bless Zimbabwe. Ndatenda, siyabonga.
Thank you, Honorable Vice President Amandi, for those words of congratulation and appreciation. And may we invite you, Honorable Vice President Mujuru, to proceed to handshake with the Excellency and the President so that we can open the way for the national chairman of the party, Baba K. Moyo, to proceed likewise to go and shake with the Excellency the President on his inauguration. Baba Vacheka kuno korokotedza His Excellency the President vakatsigiranana na chairperson of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission Justice Rita Makarau. Tose turamba takagara chikafu chenyu muchapuwa mugere pamuri ipapo musabve mabheizi enyu.
ngomehluli laba abeda le High Court le Supreme Court abe Supreme Court bekhokhelwa ngubaba uJustice Jikausiku ukanti ke abe High Court bekhokhelwa ke ngubaba uJustice Chiweshe. Yiwo amehluli abasiphathisa kumadale ngoba ke bathi ke ilizwe libuswa ke ngokuqonda kwemthethandaba. Yiwo abaphethe imthethandaba abasanda kuthenga ubaba
May I now invite His Excellency Theodore Obiang Nguema Kasoko, the President of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, to congratulate His Excellency. He will then be followed by His Excellency Joseph Kabila Kabange, the President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, who will then be followed by His Excellency Armando Emilio Guebuza, the President of the Republic of Mozambique. Thereafter, we have His Excellency Hifikepunye Pohamba, the President of the Republic of Namibia. Thereafter, we have His Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Who will then be followed by His Excellency Rajekeswa Poriag, the President of the Republic of Mauritius. We then have, following suit, Right Honorable Sibusiso Barnabas Dlamini, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Swaziland. Followed by Honorable Kgalema Petros Motlanthe, Vice President of the Republic of South Africa. Honorable Kumbo Kachali, Vice President of the Republic of Malawi. Honorable Dr. Bonashego Kedikiwe, Vice President of the Republic of Botswana. Honorable Guy Scott, Vice President of the Republic of Zambia. And then we move on to the former heads of state, former presidents. We begin with His Excellency Kenneth Kaunda from the Republic of Zambia. Followed by His Excellency Ketumile Masire, former president of the Republic of Botswana. Followed by His Excellency Ali Hassan Mwinyi, former President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Excellency, Samuel Daniel Excellency, Samuel Daniel